Test, test. Testing, testing, testing.
Hello. Welcome everyone to the Associate Students Election Debates. Today, debating for the position of Vice President of Financial Affairs, we have Vincent Lin from Blueprint SDSU Slate. Before we get started, we'll go over some ground rules. First, during the debate, please be respectful by speaking when it's your turn and by respecting the time limit set forth by the moderators for each question. Do you have any questions?
No.
To open, we'll start with 1 minute for your opening statement. When you have 30 seconds left, we'll raise our hand like that. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Your minute starts now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vincent Lin. I am a second-year finance major, and I'm happy to be here to talk about my campaign for VP of Financial Affairs. I would like to thank the Daily Aztec and AS for having me today, and I'm so excited to talk with you guys today.
Okay. For the first part of this debate, we'll ask you general questions that relate to the position of VP of Financial Affairs. And following this, we'll go into individual questions based on the statement you presented during your campaign. For the general questions, you have 2 minutes to respond. We kindly remind candidates to refrain from speaking out of turn. All right, let's begin. So, what inspired you to run for the VP of Financial Affairs?
So for VP of Financial Affairs, my career coming to STSU so far, I've been kind of like separated into two realms. I've done a lot of like the club stuff and seeing how like clubs are affected by AS and kind of like what they need. And then I've also done the AS side by joining FAC and kind of seeing how they run. So one of the big things I want to do is kind of help and like spread awareness to people who don't know too much about AS. I know for me, in my freshman year, I had a very hard time kind of like knowing what opportunities I have and what I can do. So spreading that awareness and kind of bring some change to a more stagnant position would be my kind of goal.
What makes you qualified to be the ideal candidate for this position? This question is also 1 minute as well.
So what makes me qualified is I've done different things within campus and seen how each group is like affected. So I've done the AS route where I've joined FAC and kind of seen like firsthand on how they run, what they think, and then like how they react to things. And I've also done the club route where I've kind of founded my own club, become the treasurer, and seen how finances work and how clubs can like get it and how they can use that to like do amazing things on campus to help all the students.
Thank you.
So for the rest of the general questions, there'll be 1 minute, and then the individual would be 2. Can you discuss your understanding of the role of VP of Financial Affairs, and how do you plan on upholding and advocating for student interests?
For for VP of Financial Affairs, there's a lot of things that you kind of like are a part of since you are in charge of pretty much the finances of the entire like AS kind of system, or at least help in it. There's like routes for like Aztec Rock Hunger, which is a big kind of goal that we always try to hit and try to like advocate for and grow it. And then you also have like FAC, where you're like the chair of FAC and kind of oversee and then look through it. Sorry.
So this position of financial
Kind of the lack of awareness in the student body. I know for me, I didn't even know about FAC until one of my upperclassmen told me. I know like other opportunities like CPF board or SSF. These are all opportunities that business students can take to kind of grow their career and get a step into kind of the world of finance. And it's just not really talked about and not a lot of people know.
Can you please elaborate on the name Blueprint SDSU and walk us through the significance of your slate's name and how it corresponds to the initiatives you're aiming to implement as VP of Financial Affairs?
So Blueprint SDSU, it's kind of in the name where it's like we're trying to set like the blueprint for how AS should be run and how AS should be helping the students to succeed in whatever personal goals they have. And finance, of course, is the backbone of every good organization. And every organization needs finances to kind of do what they need to do. So AS, of course, runs a lot on finance, and they need a lot of like money to do amazing opportunities here. So my role would be setting and helping the blueprint.
So as a student who's involved in various clubs at San Diego State, can you elaborate on the process you're willing to take when it comes to advocating for financial funding for recognized student organizations? And how do you believe it'll propel student engagement?
Kind of like for helping RSOs, I would kind of like ask them and like kind of go around, do walkarounds and like ask them what they need, like what kind of goals they want to achieve. And like we already have so many amazing opportunities for funding on campus, like CPF, student success fee, and all these other type of funding opportunities. So getting them aware and getting that they can vie for is also really important to spread that awareness.
We'll now move on to individual questions. In your campaign, you mentioned the increased tuition costs and turning them into scholarship opportunities. Could you clarify if this falls under your scope of responsibilities?
Well, part of my scope for like in the board of FAC is kind of working with like the budget and seeing how much unallocated funds that we have. So having an excess in tuition increases, we can use some of that money that we generate to kind of like give back to the students and kind of help them out by offering more scholarships.
So could you provide a concrete strategy in leveraging your role as VP of Financial Affairs to expanding those scholarship opportunities that you're mentioning, considering the constraints of Associated Students' limited budget?
Yeah, so one of the first steps I would do is kind of work with the AS staff and seeing like what boundaries can I actually do these increases, and then set like a golden plan to see how much money we have and then what's the best way to divide it, and then work with AS scholarships to kind of facilitate that task and to spread awareness and then spread the opportunities that entails.
So you mentioned increasing awareness of these funding opportunities for RSOs. How do you plan on enhancing the awareness of funding, and what changes do you propose?
In the CBC meetings, also spread the awareness of how much money we have with throughout other avenues of funding, not just in CBC, but also like CPF, say like how much money we have for SSF, spread the awareness that money could be shifted around, so you don't have to be scared that maybe in College of Business there's no more money in there, but you can always shift that money from somewhere else.
In your AS statement, you shared that the student's voice is powerful and that the best way to use that power and influence is to vote. In what ways are you and your slate amplifying SDSU voices to increase student engagement for AS elections, and what are you proposing as the candidate for VP of Financial Affairs?
So of course, the student voice is very important, and one of the best ways to kind of spread that awareness is just to do more walkarounds, show face, and kind of like let people know what's actually going on. So one of the best ways we've done that is to go through different orgs and go through different like fraternity sororities that are more underrepresented or don't know about these opportunities, and kind of spreading that awareness, spreading that they can vote, that they can have a voice, and they can like do kind of make a change on campus.
And your final question, why should students vote for you?
So students vote for me because I've seen and gone through many different avenues within AS and within this school. And with my experience in not only just AS, because a lot of people in AS maybe don't know what RSOs have to deal with, or don't know what the average student has to like kind of go through that, you know, maybe they don't know. So with my experience, like kind of my years on campus and kind of like looking at different avenues, I would be a good fit because I have the knowledge of all different students on campus.
Okay, thank you, Vincent.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we have our upcoming debate with Vice President of External Relations with Derek and Nora. Do we? Yeah. Oh. I don't know.
So again, today debating for the position of Vice President of External Affairs, we have Nora Novak from the Blueprint slate, and Derek Herrera from the Rise SDSU slate. Before we get started, we'll go over some ground rules again. First, during the debate, please be respectful of your candidates by speaking only when it's your turn, and by respecting the time limit set forth by the moderators for each question. To open, we'll have 1 minute per candidate for opening statements. Again, when you have 30 seconds left, we'll raise up a fist like that. And Nora, we'll begin with you and start your minute.
Hi everyone, my name is Nora Novak. I'm a second-year student with junior standing, double majoring in political science and women's studies. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. I want to thank the Daily Aztec for putting on this event today, my opponent Derek for being here with me as well. I want to thank the crowd for being engaged in AS elections, and shout out to my team, Blueprint SDSU. I want to acknowledge the Kumeyaay land that we stand on today, and I want to say Happy Women's History Month to all my lovely ladies out there. Throughout my AS involvements, including Student Support Commission representative, College of Arts and Letters representative, External Relations Board, Rock the Vote team, Lobby Corps secretary, and serving as a chess delegate, I've gotten the opportunity to see the importance and the power of the student voice. Through my 3 goals of promoting materials for the upcoming election, creating open campus community conversations, and connecting diverse campus communities within advocacy work, I want to use this role to empower all students to use their voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Derek, your minute starts.
Thank you. Hakamenyue, Derek Herrera Nuchi, Kopai Kumiai, Enyai, Verona. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Derek Herrera. I'm a 4th-year political science major, transitioning to my master's program this fall. I use he, him pronouns. I want to thank the Daily Aztec for hosting these debates, as these take quite a bit of time, as well as the students that have come out today to listen to the candidates and learn a little bit more. I also want to acknowledge that we are on my land, Kumeyaay land, that resides to over 13 people in this county. I also want to mention that it is Women's History Month, so I want to wish Nora, as well as all the beautiful and wonderful women, a great Women's History Month and also want to say Ramadan Kareem. I am running to be your next Vice President of External Relations because it is important to have people of color in these positions to have effective change. My roles in the Native Resource Center as President of the Native American Student Alliance, I have forged a deep connection with our campus. These experiences, along with my experience in government, have prepared me to drive for change at SDSU.
Derek, your minute is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, for this first part of the debate, we'll ask you both general questions that relate to the position of VP of External Affairs. Following this, we'll go into individual questions based on the statements you presented during your campaign. So let's get started with the general questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Let's begin. So Derek, we'll start with you. What inspired you to run for the VP of External Affairs?
Thank you. What inspired me is definitely my predecessors. So people who served as mentors to me, such as Rakeem Moore, Melvin Ridley III, and Robson Winter, had demonstrated strength through this position of Vice President of External Relations, especially those who are people of color. Coming from a marginalized group, especially a marginalized group on campus, the Native Resource Center, let alone the Native identity, who is a margin of our student body of 0.01%, it's hard for me to stay unheard, and it's hard for me to see that other students who I care for feel unheard throughout our community. While at SDSU, I've never seen a Native American candidate until last year when I ran myself. And this year, I'm coming back to amplify the voices that need to be heard in a multitude of communities, as that I have this privilege. Working closely with the current Vice President of External Relations, I have had the privilege to be on the External Relations Board, the Rock the Vote initiative, and advocate for legislation. This sticks with me everywhere, and I want to stick by students and advocate for students.
Thank you, Derek. Nora, the question's back to you. What inspired you to run for VP of External Affairs?
Within my current leadership roles on the External Relations Board, the Rock the Vote team, and Lobby Corps, I've gotten to work closely with the current Vice President of External Relations, and I've gotten to see what the role entails. And through these roles, I've served almost as an extension of the role, and I want to take it to the next level by serving as Vice President of External Relations. I also want to reflect on my own experience as an out-of-state student here at San Diego State University. When I came to campus here, I knew that I wanted to find ways to get involved and ways to stay civically engaged, but I did not know how. I did not know what resources were presented to me, and I did not know where to find those resources. So I'm here today so I can provide those resources for further students that are both non-local California residents or out-of-state students like myself. Thank you.
Nora will ask you another question. What makes you qualified and stand out to be the ideal candidate for this position?
Thank you for that question. Similar to my last response, a lot of my previous leadership work has made me qualified for this position. External Relations Board, Rock the Vote, and Lobby Corps all serve under what the Vice President of External Relations serves as, but I also have experience in Student Support Commission, which is on the CLC side of campus, and as College of Arts and Letters representative, which is on the UC side of campus. So I have a really broad leadership experience, and I'm able to connect with all areas of campus. And similarly, my out-of-state experience and perspective is very different than a lot of the other students who are on campus, both local to San Diego or California residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Derek, the question posed to you. What makes you qualified to be the ideal candidate?
Throughout my time at San Diego State, I have remained very active in the Native American Student Alliance and have held the president title for 2 years. I've also served in Associated Students on Judicial Affairs and the Board of Directors throughout 2 years of my life on campus. On campus, I also worked in student affairs and campus diversity, specifically the Native Resource Center, but I forged and collaborated with the Black Resource Center, the Undocumented Resource Center, Latinx folks, and et cetera. But through these relationships, it's really taught me to cultivate a sense of recognizing my privilege to truly learn where I stand as a cis gay man, being able to advocate for all the students on campus. So I feel like not only my campus involvements, but my involvement in government, locally, federally, and state, has taught me to advocate for students, especially those from marginalized and minoritized communities.
Thank you, Derek. So the role of the VP of External Relations is to establish and maintain relationships with prominent individuals and organizations across SDSU. For the Daily Aztec, for example, in what ways are you aiming to build stronger transparency in regard to communication with us and associated students? Derek, we'll start with you.
I feel like in this external relations, like you said, in this position, like you said, you have to really cultivate a platform for all of our entities to exist, especially the Daily Aztec. You guys are one of my main news sources. So I feel like, especially with it becoming in a primary election year and there being a lot of stake in this coming election, me being the next vice president of external relations, I'll have to make these conversations and facilitate these conversations to happen between the folks that are going to be in the Daily Aztec next year. I want to promote equitable access to resources, and I want to define equity as folks being able to read into legislation with not necessarily being directly involved into it. It's my job to know that it's my job to facilitate the understanding of policy as well as education on our campus. I get that a lot of marketing has to go with it, but in order for that to happen, I play a crucial role in understanding what stakeholders we need to work with, as well as what student interests are at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. So Nora, same question goes for you. For the Daily Aztec, for example, in what ways are you aiming to build stronger transparency in regarding to communication with us and associated students?
So as you addressed, I do believe that there is a transparency issue within AS and the campus community, and I would like to facilitate those conversations, especially with the Daily Aztec, in order for you guys to know what is going on within associated students, and then also have you guys bring that information back to us. I'd also like to take it to the next level and then facilitate those conversations outside of just the Daily Aztec, so more students can get the information that we are also providing to you. It is a multiple way conversation. It's not just between us and the Daily Aztec, but between the whole campus community. Thank you.
So the both of you mentioned civic engagement as an important part of associated students. As VP of External Relations, what initiatives are you willing to take to amplify student engagement when it comes to participating in both local and national elections? Nora, we'll start with you.
So through the Rock the Vote initiative, I want to hit the ground running with providing students for resources so they can be informed about what's coming up on the November 2024 ballot. I want to prioritize underrepresented communities on campus and do so by going to the resource centers, going to the identity centers, going to their orgs to make sure they know about the information provided. I am not here to tell people who to vote for, but I am here to give them the information so they can feel that they can make an informed decision when the time comes. And I'll be doing that through the Rock the Vote team. I also want to prioritize spreading the word about Rock the Vote and External Relation Board so more students can learn about those and also get involved through those aspects as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Derek, what does civic engagement mean to you as a potential VP of External Relations? And what initiatives are you planning to take to amplify student engagement for both local and national elections?
Civic engagement means to me recognizing the fact that I have the privilege to vote. I'm a US citizen as well as a natural-born citizen, and I understand that there is a vast community on our campus that don't have the ability to vote, but in this future paving their way to becoming a US citizen, that these communities still are worth being reached out to. These are our communities that we're representing, and it's not fair to misrepresent them, mostly because people consider it that they're not their constituency. So through the Rock the Vote initiative, during the year, I really want to hone in on voter registration drives, as well as utilizing the Daily Aztec for not promoting candidates, but raising awareness on the candidates that exist, as well as ballot measures, facilitate opportunities for students to engage with local legislators and bureaucrats, and recognize that the students could vote in local, state, and federal elections. I want them to know that their voice is heard, especially with the diverse pool that we do have at SDSU. It's important that all our voices are heard and nobody is drowned out, especially those undocumented folks. These folks matter.
Thank you, Derek. We'll move on to individual questions. Derek, last year you ran for the position of University Affairs while being in the SDSU United slate. For this year, walk us through the process of running for the position of External Affairs, and what do you aim to accomplish throughout your campaign and do differently?
Yeah, so like you said, I did run last year and I unfortunately didn't win. But what that campaign taught me a lot was the amount of discipline and the dedication that I could have as a student leader, regardless if I were to win or not. Since I didn't win, I decided to still get actively involved in Associated Students, and I currently sit on the board of directors. It was a hard transitioning, realizing that I put so much time and effort into wanting to attain this position, but at the end of the day, I've created feasible change on this campus. For example, I was a student advocate for Native students on campus to have their tuition funded. And I realized that on campus, my voice matters, especially having a seat in the University Senate. And coming into this campaign, the sustenance and the position of the role has been quite a change and quite different. But being a political science major and being an advocate, and as well as recognizing that I'm human first, I've realized that I have the discipline and I also have the potential to advocate for students on our campus.
Thank you. Nora, in your AS statement, you shared that one of your goals is to address student concerns through education initiatives. Could you elaborate further on what concerns you've witnessed and what measures you're taking to address those issues?
So throughout my time serving on the Rock the Vote initiative this past year, I've gotten to be in contact with a lot of different students across our campus. One big issue that I've seen is that students don't feel that they have the adequate resources to know what's upcoming on the ballot. I've also gotten to talk with a lot of non-local students and out-of-state students, and they've also addressed that they do not know which routes they can take to get civically engaged. I also want to provide open community conversations to create a safe space for people to have this dialogue, and also bring in local politicians and elected officials. So if people if people are not voting yet, they're still able to participate in these conversations and feel that their voice is being heard. Thank you.
Derek, your campaign statement includes advocating for minority communities and championing inclusivity through inclusive SDSU. What inclusivity initiatives are you planning to introduce to the campus if elected, and how will you elevate inclusive SDSU from what it is currently?
Yeah, so currently I realized throughout the student body and Associated Students itself, the relationship between student affairs and campus diversity is very tarnished and disconnected. So I definitely want to repair that and implement a mutual relationship where not only our student leaders have access to these spaces and have direct contact to student affairs and campus diversity as itself, but all students could feel that they're at home with those entities existing, because we do have quite a bit of affinity centers on campus. So I really want to raise the awareness and the role that they play with our students' impact. So like you mentioned, I do want to work to amplify student voices through the Inclusive SDSU initiative. I find that this is the current system right now is very transactional, and it's still in the developmental stages, but with the amount of hate crimes going out to our Palestinian and Muslim brothers and sisters on campus, it's ridiculous for students to not feel heard, and that makes them not want to be participatory in their education. So I think it's important to implement things like
Your minute is up, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you. However, Derek, you mentioned collaborating with university safety stakeholders, especially in light of past reports of hate crime and safety concerns. How do you intend to ensure the safety of all communities? And can you outline an approach that goes beyond existing initiatives like the SDSU Safe app and the SDSU Alert platform?
Yeah, so I recognize that, especially with this past semester, that there have been quite a bit of hate crimes, as well as Title IX reports and incidents that have occurred on campus. I recognize safety is a multilateral and not a monolithic word. It's very critical to recognize that people of color, let alone all students, don't feel comfortable around the police presence or policing in general. So I want to implement something like safety training or designees within our resource centers or spaces that are very prominent on campus, so that they have proper training to serve their students, but they're also not policing. They're an advocate. They know how to approach these situations, and they know the proper safety stakeholders to approach, whether that's the Office of Discrimination and Harassment, Title IX, or UPD. It's important that folks who establish this comfortability exist in our communities. So that's a little bit of what I want to do, straying away from the policing methods that we've been using, as including a little bit more in humility in what we offer at SDSU. Thank you.
Thank you. Nora, I'll pose the same question to you. In light of past reports of hate crime and safety concerns, how do you intend to ensure the safety of all communities on campus? And can you outline an approach that goes beyond existing initiatives?
So I think besides just building off previous initiatives that we have on campus, I really want to make sure that all students across campus are feeling heard. I understand that we have such a diverse campus and everyone here is so unique and has different perspectives, and therefore safety is going to mean something different for each person. And that's why I think it's important to really take the time and effort to listen to each different campus community to see what safety means for them. And after doing that, we can build on the next steps of working towards improving our current initiatives and then seeing what else we can add that will help all students feel safe. Thank you.
So Nora, you touch on safety as something important to incorporate on campus. You also mentioned strengthening collaboration between student orgs and local communities. What does diversity mean to you, and what does this initiative look like when it comes to fostering diversity on campus?
So as we know, our campus is very diverse, and that's what makes us so strong and so unique. One of my main goals is to connect different diverse campus communities. Through my roles as College of Arts and Letters representative and student support representative, I've gotten to work with so many different groups across campus and different organizations, and what I've seen through these roles is that many of us have very similar goals when we're working towards civic engagement and advocacy, yet we're all standing on our own. I want to help bridge these groups across campus because together we are stronger. Thank you.
Derek, one of the slogans for Rise SDSU states, "Together we rise, together we thrive." In what ways are you holding on to that message when it comes to advocating for the welfare of SDSU students on behalf of your slate?
Yeah. So with the mantra of together we rise, together we thrive, it's important to me to hold that close, like with high merit and close to my heart as I am entering this leadership role, mostly because I want to destigmatize the hierarchy and create a more horizontal leadership style of which the students aren't necessarily telling me what they need, but they have the ability, and I'm going to help them promote this platform like External Relations Board to utilize so they could voice their concerns and feel like they're included in these conversations. Together isn't just a buzzword, it's more so that I cannot act without the student body. Like I will be, whether it's Nora or me, we're both elected by the student body in order to create effective change as well as listen to our students. We have to work together in order to see success as well as safety, security, and equity in our system at SDSU and throughout the world. Thank you.
So Nora, you mentioned a lot about your experience with the Rock the Vote team to ensure accessibility of resources. Could you elaborate on your past collaboration with Rock the Vote? And given your perspective with the voter turnout of SDSU being quite low, what strategies are you implementing to promote higher levels of civic engagement other than spreading the word on campus?
Thank you for that question. So during this past year, I got to serve on the Rock the Vote team, and through that, we did have initiatives. We were trying to get students registered to vote. And since I've already been involved with the Rock the Vote team, I really plan to hit the ground running and start as soon as I can getting people engaged as early as we can. And through this, I want to really focus on promoting the local and state elections. I feel like a lot of students have this preconceived notion and only think about the federal election. However, it is the local elections that really affect the students the most, and that's another reason I want to have these community conversations to bring some elected officials to campus and also show students the impact that their voice can have right here in their home at SDSU. And through that, I want to host voter registration drives and do walkarounds and table to ensure that we can reach as many areas of campus as we can and show students the importance that their voice has through voting. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our last question, Derek, why should students vote for you as opposed to your candidate? And both of you have 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Being involved in numerous communities throughout campus and being a present ally for those I do not identify with has led me to seek this position to elevate the work I am about to do. Throughout these past 3 years, I have worked to elevate marginalized communities for my own as I have gone beyond the boundaries that folks in my community have yet to reach. For help, questions, or a friend, people often reach out to me, which makes my heart so warm. It makes me feel great that they feel comfortable and have confidence in what my capabilities are. I have worked hard in student affairs and campus diversity to build a well-meshed community throughout all identity centers, advocated and educated through the Rock the Vote campaign for 2 years, represented the student voice without hesitation in Associated Students and University Senate, and I have been able to provide full funding for Native students through the means of lobbying university stakeholders and have repaired fractured relationships throughout my time at SDSU. Having the courage to care, I have the assets at SDSU to serve our students at large, and I can guarantee advocacy, inclusion, and civic engagement. The family I have supporting me at SDSU remains confident in my ability to succeed in all areas. This is only a new prospect. As your next Vice President of External Relations, I want to work with all of you so that we thrive at SDSU. I want to see representation in your interests, so I'm here rising up to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Nora, why should students vote for you as opposed to your candidate?
I am up here today because I have a passion for student advocacy and uplifting the student voice, which will be shown through this role as Vice President of External Relations. Through my goals of collaborating with the Rock the Vote team to provide resources about the upcoming election and prioritizing underrepresented communities on campus, creating open and safe community conversations so students can use their voice and feel that their voice is being heard, and connecting diverse campus communities within advocacy projects will help empower students to use their voice, which will lead to student success, and they'll allow them to have the best experience both on and off campus during their time at SDSU. My leadership roles through Rock the Vote, External Relations Board, Lobby Corps, and Chess, College of Arts and Letters, and Student Support Commission have all prepared me for this. Thank you.
Thank you both, and that concludes the debate for Vice President of External Relations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.